See. Hello and welcome to another episode of Meet the Expert on the Block. My name is Dawn Block. I'm a local realtor in the Schaumburg area. I'm with Century 21 Circle, and I'm your host on this episode because you get it. Meet the Expert on the Block, Dawn Block. Yep, that's how I got the name. So I married into it, and here we go. I got a podcast now. So I want to quickly do some. I got a thumbs up, so that's good. And I'm going to do, while we're talking about thumbs up and things like that, I want to do some housekeeping. So my housekeeping is this. I love interaction. And on this episode of Meet the Expert on the Block, I'm going to want people to definitely interact because I think it's going to be beneficial for you and I'm going to get into introducing our special guests and everything, but I just want you to be involved, interact, comment, and just be a part of this podcast because I think it'll be a great one to be with or to listen in on. So I'm going to check right now. I know we've got a couple of people looking. I want to see who's out there. Let's check and see. I see, we got one person. So of course, my number one fan, Chris Block. Greetings from the highway, ladies. Wait, you're not supposed to be driving and listening to a podcast unless you've got the phone down. I don't know how you're going to work it out, but unless you're just listening to me. I don't want to yell at you too much, Chris, but be careful. I want to see you get home. Kathy Facenda. Hi, looking forward to this. Great. I'm glad that you were able to join, Kathy. It's going to be a great show. So with that, what I would like to do is I want to introduce our special guest, but I have to do some maneuvering here right now. So just bear with me for one moment. All right. So my special guest, her name is Teri Calandra. She is with Calandra Center for Health and Wellness. Teri, I want to thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Meet the Expert on the Block.
Hi, Dawn. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. This is going to be a great show. I mean, we're going to be talking about so many different things, but what I would love you to do is just let people know what the content. How can people get in touch with you? If they like what they see and they hear, how can people get in touch with you?
Sure. So as Dawn mentioned, my name is Teri Calandra. I'm from Calandra Center for Health and Wellness. We are an integrative health and wellness facility located in the heart of Schaumburg. We offer acupuncture, NAET, allergy elimination, and ET, which is neuro-emotional technique. We also offer different forms of energy medicine and classes. The best way to get a hold of me is actually through our email at admin@calandraacupuncture.com. You're also welcome to call us at 312-796-3965 and visit our website. You're welcome to fill out a 15-minute complimentary phone consultation, and that's a great way to reach us as well.
Awesome. And I do have her information scrolling on the bottom of the screen. So, definitely reach out, look back at, get your information from there. So before we have somebody else that jumped on here. I just want to make sure. Chris. He says he's listening. Okay. I will get off your back. I'm sorry. You're listening as long as you're listening. So what we'd like to do, I'd like to ask you, Teri, so everybody has a past, what they've done in their past, and we'd like to get the scoops on you. So if you wouldn't mind sharing with us a little bit about what you were doing before you opened up your business.
Sure. So I graduated from University of Iowa with a Bachelor of Arts. And then in 2005, I graduated as a massage therapist. And at that time, I was licensed both in Ohio and Illinois. I no longer do hour-long massages. However, I do still hold my licensure for that. And then in 2009, I graduated with my master's degree in traditional Chinese medicine and herbal medicine through the Pacific College of Oriental Medicine, which was at that time located in Boys Town in Chicago. So didn't travel too far for that one.
So I know I didn't. I'm going to throw a question in here. So, what do you like to do for fun?
Fun.
I
I
didn't have that in our questions, but I
I'm
thought
sorry.
I didn't have that in our questions that we're asking. But I do want to ask you, what does Terry like to do for fun?
My happy place is either in a forest or by a body of water. So, like this past Saturday, we took a trip out to Starved Rock,
I saw
and
that.
I finally made it to the French Canyon and saw the elusive Illinois pelicans that are migrating from up north south. They
Oh
make a stop
wow.
in Starved Rock, which I never knew. Who knew that?
Oh wow. No, I didn't know that either. But Starved Rock is such a beautiful place to go to, even in the fall. In the fall, it's
Exactly.
really
The
nice.
fall is, and even in the winter, actually, if you go up there in February, you'll see, especially by the dam, you'll see eagles.
Oh, okay. Yes, I do remember that. Yes, we did
Yep.
go there. I'm not a fan of cold, but I did go. We did go up there when it was cold
Get
outside.
those long johns out.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I got another person jumping in. So, Jan, mom wouldn't miss you. You are so informative. Oh, so there's my mom. Oh, it's a family thing. So it's like
It
a
is a
family
family.
party. Yeah. So I'd like to ask you, Terry. So why did you open up your business in Schaumburg?
That's a great question. So, as a kid, I was very sick as a kid. I was a bubble child. I was allergic to everything. And I think I single handedly kept my acupuncturist, massage therapist, and chiropractor in business throughout my dance career. So the short answer is that I've been there. I have been the person that jumped from medical doctor, looking for an answer, not finding it, becoming frustrated, and really asking, so when does the healing actually begin? Because I'm wasting my time. You're not telling me anything. And now here's another medication that I can't take because it's going to make me sick. So when does the healing actually begin? And so the short answer of why I got into this is because I've been there. I understand pain. I understand allergies. I understand menstrual issues. And it allows for me to step into a space to be more compassionate of the people that I'm working with and to offer them those tools that maybe they didn't even know were a possibility.
Yeah. Well, that's a great reason to open up your business. I mean, something too that you're looking for a resolution to a lot of things that other doctors didn't have any resolution for. So so how do you like being in the Schaumburg area?
Well, Schaumburg area is great. I actually grew up in this area. I went to Hoffman Estates High School.
Oh, okay.
I swore up and down I would never return to this area.
And look
And
at
then
you.
here I am, right back where I started. The second job I ever worked was actually at Sears and Woodfield Mall. And so I really am right next door. I've come full circle.
Oh, you have. You
Oh, yeah.
have.
Yeah.
And you are, yeah, I've seen you're not too far from my
Yeah.
office. So yeah, how cool is that? So in the beginning, I did ask that we were going to ask for audience participation. So I'm hoping that there are people out there listening or maybe jumping on soon. I wanted to ask a question. So how do you show up for yourself and stay calm in your day? And that could be business or day or anything that you do during the day, just your daytime life. How do you keep calm? Because we have a lot of outer barrier stresses that can pop up. What's going on in the world can be a very stressful situation, but how do you stay calm? How do you show up for that? And I don't know, I'm going to hope and pray that we get some people that can just join in, put in the comments on how you stay calm in your day. And then we'd like to share those because this is what this is about. We want to get some participation from our listeners, because we want to kind of go on. And I know if we don't, then I will tell you how I stay calm. But I'm hoping that we can get, so I'm going to give it a couple of minutes. Hopefully, we can get some people to participate with us. And we'll just give it a couple of minutes to see if anybody makes a comment. So, but yeah, so I know just too that we are going to be talking about, and this is, I think, it's something that I think everybody has in their day. How is staying calm in a very hectic business world? And I'm sure that while we're waiting for people, I'm going to give it a couple minutes longer, and maybe I can mention what I do, and then we can kind of move on. But so the world is a crazy place. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, right now, with everything going on in our world, we don't know which end is up. So that can create a lot of anxiety. I mean, isn't that true? Teri, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we don't have anybody. So what I do generally is, oh wait, I do have somebody. Hold on a second. And I think this is really good. Kathy Fasanda says, find some quiet, deep breaths. And that's exactly what I was going to say, that, taking deep breaths when you agree. I mean, there's something about it, taking a deep breath and just kind of relaxing your nerves. Wouldn't you agree with that? Is there something about that breathing techniques?
Yeah, so actually there's research that's out there that show that deep diaphragmatic breaths actually stimulate the vagus nerve and calm the sympathetic nervous system. So it takes you out of fight and flight. So making sure you take those deep breaths that go all the way down to your belly. Some people will do what's referred to as box breathing, where you inhale and exhale for the same amount of period of time for a certain period of breaths. But there's actually research that supports that.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. So, and Kathy, thank you so much for sharing that. Like I said, I would love to get more people to participate with our episodes of Meet the Expert on the Block. So, Teri, how do we stay calm?
There's so many ways, and like Kathy had alluded to, the deep breaths, certainly meditation, exercising releases those endorphins and those happy hormones that keep you in a place of focus, right? For a lot of people, they exercise, they feel more energetic, which is great. And the way that, for me, there's many tools that I incorporate into my everyday life, especially when it comes to business. And honestly, the biggest one has been not only the meditation, and a purposeful choice to remain present in my day-to-day actions. Like, how many times a day do you feel like you're on autopilot?
Oh,
Is that
always.
right? Is
Yeah.
that autopilot helpful, or is it a defense mechanism because you've got too many other things going on in your life?
And that's probably what, because you get up, you move, you go to the office, you do
Right.
your work, you go home, and pretty soon, yeah, you're kind of going through the motions, is what
You're
you're
just
doing.
going through the motions.
Yeah.
And so just taking that time to recenter yourself and to be present, even if you're washing dishes or vacuuming the floor, being present with whatever activity it is that you're doing can start to kind of help bring about that calm, right? Because now you're focused on what you're doing as opposed to, what am I cooking for dinner? Do I need to walk the dog? Like, oh, I got to do this. And it doesn't, the reality is that none of it matters. What matters is what you are doing at that given point in time, which brings us to what we're going to be talking about, which are the Reiki precepts. Frankly, it was the Reiki precepts that got me through COVID. So if you think of COVID as a gigantic storm and you are the boat that's trying to navigate it, you couldn't navigate it. You had these big swells of water constantly around you coming from every direction. It was the epitome of chaos. It brought up a lot of anxiety. It brought up a lot of depression. And so how do you navigate the thing that seems to be non-navigatable? Is that a word?
Yeah. We'll use it.
We're
You can do anything on my show. That's fine.
You're not able to shift and change. You had zero control.
Yeah.
And so for me, the Reiki precepts, which are something that we're going to talk about, was a way to remain present, was a way to stay grounded and remember that really what mattered at that given point in time was what you were choosing to do right then and there. Not what was happening in the media, not what was happening with your neighbor, not what was happening with everything, right? Because COVID broke families. So how could you remain grounded and centered in who and what you are? And that is what then gets applied to business. Is how do you find grounding in who and what you are? How do you fully know and understand who you are? So then when you look at business, it's like dropping the pebble in the water and allowing for the ripples to move out. You already know who you are. Now all you do is you stay in a place of compassion and not judgment to allow yourself to be observant of what's happening around you. And that's the key, is to be observant and not participate, to be observant of the conflicts, potential conflicts, but not actively take part in it because you have awareness of where you're coming from.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to, before we go into, I just have one more comment that came up that I'm going to share. So Janet Zajac says, teach us how to breathe before going to sleep. And
awesome.
that is awesome. I mean, yeah, that is. So after a busy day, I'll tell you, if I get home, I mean, I'm racing, my ears are ringing. I'm like, you have to take that moment. Maybe it's because of too much coffee. I don't know. But I mean, you need that time so I love what my mom said, but so how can we breathe before we go to sleep?
Yeah. Well, you want to do this? You want to have a little sample of like what this might look like for you?
Why not?
Awesome. So go ahead and plant both feet on the floor. And certainly you can do this when you're laying down. I do this every morning and a lot of times right before I go to bed. And you can place your hands on your abdomen, wherever it is that you want. And this is actually another Reiki meditation. It's very simple that you can take into, utilize in everyday life. And you're going to be inhaling and exhaling through the nose. But when you inhale, you're going to direct that breath all the way down to your lower abdomen below your navel. And you're going to see that navel, that abdomen expand with the energy. And on the exhalation through the nose, you're going to allow for that energy to expand out further through your body, in front of you, behind you, above you, below you. Okay? So everybody close their eyes, get comfortable. Take a couple of nice deep breaths. First, we're going to inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth, allowing yourself to release anything that is no longer a contribution. Inhale through the nose and out through the mouth. And one more time, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And now I want you to shift your breathing to inhaling and exhaling through the nose. So you're inhaling all the way down to the lower abdomen, expanding that energy out through every cell, fiber, sinew, and tendon. Exhaling and expanding it through the skin in front of you, behind you, above you, below you. Inhale all the way down to the lower abdomen, expanding that energy out through every cell, fiber, sinew, and tendon. Exhaling and expanding it through the skin in front of you, behind you, above you, below you. Inhale all the way down to the lower abdomen, expanding that energy out through every cell, fiber, sinew, and tendon. Exhaling and expanding it through the skin in front of you, behind you, above you, below you. Each breath should start to become more rhythmic, starting to feel like the undulation of a wave where there's no beginning and no end. And allowing that energy with each breath to expand out further and further and further. The size of the room, the state, the universe, and so on and so forth. Allowing for your mind to calm. the chair to take the weight of your body. And take a couple more nice, deep, rhythmic breaths at your own pace. And when you're ready, start bringing that sensation of peace and calm that you've created within that state back with you into the current time and place. Yeah. So it's very natural when we're stressed, our natural inclination is to constrict, right? It's our self-defense mechanism. We constrict in with ourselves. And what this meditation does is actually expand our energy out, because change and opportunity are created within that space of expansiveness. So even when in a business setting, Dawn and I are both very, very big introverts, and where our natural inclination might be to walk into a networking meeting and constrict down, actually the healthier space for us to be in, the space where we're not going to take on other people's stuff, is to expand our energy out. So that way, even on an energetic level, we're taking up more space. We're grounded in ourselves and not as concerned about what's happening around us.
That's great. That's good. So my mom chimes in. Okay, wake up, Dawn. Yeah. Yes, I'm awake, Mom. So yeah. So and then my husband chimed in saying, hold on. Oh, hold on.
Your husband shouldn't be doing this while he's driving.
I know. We're going to have to yell at him some more. He goes, I cook to relax. Which I heard, yeah. That's why he cooks all the meals. Because he likes to relax. Mm-hmm. I better watch what I say or he's going to stop cooking for me. Oh, and then, who else? I guess my mom looks, my mom said good night. So maybe she's, okay, we tired my mom out. She's going to bed now.
There you go.
So, yeah. So good night, Mom. And then, so we really ought to get that. We need to talk more about, because that was a technique and that was great. And I hope that if anybody was able to join us in that exercise, you could feel I have a little stuffed up nose, but you could feel, even though you're doing it, you could just feel your muscles loosen up, your body let go a little bit. So when you were saying, okay, you can come back too, I was like, no, I want to stay where I am at right now. But I know I can't do that because we're going to talk about Reiki precepts. First off, I would love you to talk, because there's a lot of people that don't know what Reiki is. Right. So if you could give an explanation about Reiki.
Sure. So there's many different styles of Reiki. Traditionally, Reiki was really used as more of a method of personal development, it's a personal practice, and it's a method of rediscovery of true self. And so, yes, you can absolutely show up, lay on a table, and receive a traditional hands-on or off healing modality, right? That's very calming to the nervous system. In fact, research has shown that it lowers cortisol levels, which are your stress hormones. However, you can also take the classes and learn all of the meditations and techniques that are like guideposts to helping you rediscover your true self. And like I've keep saying, it's being rooted in who and what you are. And with the Reiki precepts, they are more than just mantras. So Dawn, if you'd like to put the precepts up.
Yes. Doing that right now. There we go.
The Reiki precepts are more than just mantras. They're really the path to knowing who you truly are. And if you think about it, if you know who you truly are and what your triggers are, you can take that step back in a business setting or in any setting and have a better idea and a place of non-judgment, a place of compassion. If somebody is being angry towards you, you can kind of suss out what is yours and what's not. What are you trying to buy into? And so it allows you to find and become that calm in the storm, because again, it's a lot like the image that I always see is, it's kind of the snow globe
Yeah.
effect,
Yes.
right? Where you shake the snow globe and all the snow is going around. But if you are anchored at the bottom of that snow globe, it's not you that's moving around, it's the snow that's happening around you. And if you are rooted, all you have to do is stay rooted, and the snow will land wherever it might land, which will then allow you to make choice based on the things that now lay in front of you. And that's why I said the Reiki precepts are really what got me through the time of COVID, because it allowed for me to take that step back and be okay with whatever happened, and wait and find that place of patience and compassion and non-judgment, to make choices based on the factual information that was in front of me, instead of fear-based of worry, etc.
Okay, so it's like not letting your mind get the best of you, type
Exactly.
of. Okay.
Exactly. So with the Reiki precepts, they actually begin with just for today. And I invite you, as we go through these, to chime in, and Dawn will kind of share as we go in, because it's very important to me that if you have questions or would like to share, that we invite you to be able to do that. So these precepts start with just for today. And it's just like it sounds like, right? Like, what does just for today mean to you? Generally, it means living in the present. Yeah. You don't live in the past, you don't live in the future, you remain present. And actually, this is a very Buddhist idea, and also practiced within Shintoism, of having conscious awareness and being present in even the most mundane things that you're doing throughout life. You can see the kanji to the left of the screen. That is the kanji for Reiki. So Reiki was developed in Japan by a man named Mikao Usui, and he was Buddhist. He also practiced Shintoism, because at the time Buddhism was illegal in Japan. So you see this nod towards Buddhism in the Reiki precepts. But the idea always goes back to, it doesn't matter what religion you are. It's about staying present in who and what you are. Like, you are the spirituality in this. These are concepts and ideas to help you be a better person. So if you add just for today in front of all of these, the idea is that as you're going through each sentence, you're tearing apart each individual word, because words have meanings, right? Yeah. Yes. And so does it have, we'll go through do not bear anger for the full aspect of this is do not bear anger, for anger is an illusion. And so if you think about the word bear, does it have a color, a feeling, a sensation, a memory? Is it expansive? Is it constrictive? Right? For many, the word bear is heavy.
Yeah.
Right? It's the idea of having to carry a lot of stuff. So the same thing with anger. Does anger have a color, a feeling, a sensation? Does it bring up a memory? Is it expansive? Is it constrictive?
So like anger, like red, like the color red comes to mind.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And the thing with colors is that red for some can mean anger. For some, it can mean passion.
Yes. Oh, right? Yeah. Yes.
So it's what is unique to you. There's no wrong answers in these. When it comes to anger, you'll see actually that in the sentence, do not bear anger. So Usui actually put the word not in this sentence as a nod towards non-duality. And the idea of nods is that it's non-dualistic. So anger is not dualistic. Anger is neither good nor bad, right?
Yeah.
You can make the comparison, I will sometimes say this in class, of if it wasn't for a bunch of rich white dudes, we would not be we would not be a country, right? It was that anger over taxation without representation that sparked them to make a choice to create change. So if they held on to that anger, they wouldn't get anywhere, because anger can be very destructive. It can take away clarity. However, if they have the anger, they let it go, and they now focus on how are we going to move forward to create the change that we're hoping for, that's where the real magic happens.
Right.
So as we go deeper and deeper into these, you may notice that some of them actually have to do with control, right? Do not bear anger, for anger is an illusion. Anger is very rarely ever actually anger, right? Take a moment and think about, when you experience that anger, what is really underneath it? Is it lack of understanding? Is it wanting somebody else to hear your point of view and understand and agree with your point of view? Well, that's control and ego, right? But if you have two people that are angry, and this person is trying to convince this person over here that they're right, and this person is getting all flared up because they believe they're right, and they're trying to convince this person, what happens?
You
don't get anywhere.
No, there's conflict.
Right. Right. And so when there's conflict, nothing happens. Nothing gets done. Nothing changes. Right?
No, that's true. Yeah.
So how might you take do not bear anger, and knowing what we just talked about, how might you apply that to a business setting?
Well, I mean, just disagreeing with somebody. I mean, and too, if anybody else wants to chime in with their opinion or their answer or what they feel, please do put it in the comments. In a work setting. Well, I mean, just if you don't agree with what one person says in your work setting, or maybe your boss tells you have to do something because it's policy and you're not in agreement with it. I mean, there's so many different ways to look at that, to kind of take that in context to what you're saying.
Right. So. And so the next step of this is, there are concepts out there, there's ideas out there that most of what we believe and perceive doesn't actually belong to us. So how much of our anger is because of a learned response from our upbringing or from society that has dictated and told us that we should be upset or offended by a person or a situation.
Yeah.
So the more you understand what anger truly means to you, and all of those other deep little ugly shadowy aspects of self, then you can apply that. You already know that. It's like the basketball player that Michael Jordan would sit there and do 100 free throws over and over and over again. So when it was game time, he already knew how to do that free throw. These are no different. You run through them, you practice, you focus on them and sit with them and assess them for yourself. So when you are faced with those situations, you have a faster and better understanding. Does this even belong to me? Should I be angry at this situation? What is the contribution of being angry in this situation? Nothing. It's going to it's going to create further conflict. Okay, well, maybe I have the choice to then step back and just assess the conflict that's happening among them and others, and be okay with whatever that outcome is. So then I can take that information and proceed forward with an educated assessment of what is actually happening.
Or compromise. You can always compromise.
Exactly.
Chris Black chimed in. He says, this thought process brings about clarity. And that's exactly what this is all about, isn't it?
Exactly.
So the next one says, do not worry.
Right. So the full aspect of this is do not worry, for fear is a distraction. So again, when in your own time, you would break down, what do each of these words mean to you? What does worry mean to me? What does fear and distraction mean to me? And again, it has an aspect of control to it. So actually, anger is not recognizing that you are trying to control a situation. Worry is recognizing you're trying to control a situation and still trying to control it, right?
Okay.
Worry is a very much a future-based emotion. It has a lot to do with fear. And again, you see that Usui put the word not in there as a nod toward non-duality. So if you're in the forest and you have a bear that's coming out of the forest and is starting to approach you, it is completely and totally logical and legitimate to not want to be by that bear, right? Like that is a normal response to have.
Exactly.
Right. However, for many people, especially those that have experienced trauma or have a lot of fear and worry in their lives, again, first of all, how much of that is actually yours? How many of those actually belong to a parent or a grandparent or so on and so forth? One of the example that comes to mind right now is the grandparent that says, or the parent that says, at least I have enough money to put food on the table, right?
Yeah.
That's a very fear reactive comment. It's a very,
because if you don't have it.
right. It's a very judgmental comment of, I only have to create this much money because really I just want to put food on the table.
Yeah.
So if you're holding on to points of views like that, that's not even yours. Like you have that choice to let that go and create something else that's more in alignment with what you believe currently. And that's the thing about beliefs, is that they're constantly, you should be able to constantly shift and change an idea. A belief can be a little bit more steadfast, right? But you have the choice of letting it go.
Yes, you do. Yeah. So, and then just kind of, so when we talk about these, like we talked about anger or do not worry, or is that the same concept? Like there might be some colors or feelings that may come from that?
Exactly. And it's acknowledging the different layers, right? So each time you sit with these, whether it's in meditation or just in contemplation, each time you sit with these, something new might show up. Sometimes you might feel anger. Like sometimes you might see a color. Sometimes you may feel absolutely nothing. And there is a lot that can be found and understood within the space of nothing, within just space, because that can be the invitation to create something new.
Yeah. Right. You don't always have to be noisy and moving.
You don't always have to be noisy. Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't always have to be noisy. And so as we move on, okay. So the other thing with do not bear anger and do not worry is you can contemplate, what would that look like? What could that be like if I chose another way to process that emotion? These are not about you can never bear anger. This is never about you can never have worry or fear. It's an invitation to look at these emotions and process them in a healthier way on your own time. So that way you have awareness of it and said, hey, I remember how I processed that last time. And maybe the next time it shows up in your life, you're working through it a lot faster.
Yeah.
Right. Now, when it comes to be humble, be true to yourself, and the last one is show compassion to yourself and others. It's kind of simple. Can you be humble if you sit in a place of worry, anger, and fear?
No.
Can you be true to yourself and your way of being if you're sitting in a space of anger, worry, and fear? No.
I would say not. No.
Yeah. And then the last one is show compassion to yourself and others. So not only can you be compassionate to yourself if you're in a space of anger, worry, or fear, but can you be compassionate of others if you're in a space of anger, worry, and fear? No, right? So Usui put show compassion to yourself first, specifically because it's the concept of I cannot give you tea unless I have tea to give. And this idea of sometimes the most compassionate thing to do is nothing. And if you've worked your precepts, you've gone through and have figured out what anger, worry, and fear mean to you, and what all of these things mean to you and your deeper aspects, you'll have a better understanding of show compassion. It's show compassion without judgment. So you can do absolutely nothing, even though you're coming from a place of non-judgment.
Well, then too, it's like showing yourself a little grace, you know.
Exactly.
Mean, just you don't have to always be like you said. You don't have to always be the one talking or the outspoken person in the group. You could just by your silence could be projecting what your thoughts and feelings are.
Right. And we actually, if I may share this from our earlier conversation, Dawn, you had said like there's lots of things happening in your day. You had signed up for an event.
Yes.
You were excited about, right? And you weren't able to go to. So showing compassion to yourself of like, yeah, you weren't able to go to that event. And also look at everything else that you accomplished.
True. Because I didn't look at it that way. Because at the time, I was just angry. Well, not angry. I felt like I was rushing myself. You know, like, okay, you know, it was like, come on, you know, we got to get this done. We got to get this done. I got to be somewhere. And it wasn't going the way that I thought it was going to happen. Therefore, I couldn't do anything about it. I sure didn't want to rush it along for my clients. So I had to then just kind of surrender and be like, okay, you know, it is what it is. I feel bad that I couldn't be there, but I just can't knock myself. I mean, I tried to then just resume on with whatever else I had to do on the day. But you're right. I felt so bad because I wanted to go. There was a real estate alliance group. I wanted to go, but unfortunately, and see Ellen Stern, because he is, he's a great speaker and he's got great ideas, and I really wanted to sit down and listen to it. But so I was beating myself up about not being able to go, and then there was like this voice in my head that said, I have to stop, or else I'm not going to get through the rest of my day, you know.
Right.
So, and I that's what all this is about.
That's what all this is about. You hit every single one of these precepts with that one story.
Wow. Okay.
Right? You
Well,
see
that's interesting, breaking it down. Yeah. No, I when looking at it, and it really is. It's putting yourself in a place of grace, a place of not beating yourself up because you can't be somewhere or do something that you want to do. And just basically take it. My mom would say, you got to do one day at a time, one moment at a time. You can't do everything all at once. Although we do, and I do, and I'm guilty of it. I will cram my day with many things to do, and praying that I get through all of them. And I think, you know, more and more now, you know, we just you need to kind of step back a little bit.
Right. Well, like we were talking about before we started, is finding that work-life balance. And I think that's something that a lot of us struggle with. And again, it goes back to the Reiki precepts. All things direct back to the Reiki precepts on different levels and different forms. And it just depends on, and that's what you can do with these, is how does this apply to perfect example. So at the beginning of my career, I've actually been in Schaumburg now for about 4 years, full time. And prior to that, my office was in the South Loop. So I was driving probably about 3 hours total most days to get to and from the South Loop. It would take a total of about 3.5 hours. So if I'm sitting there and I'm driving, this was the perfect time to work the Reiki precepts, because now I'm sitting in traffic, right? You have the guy that's trying to cut you off, and you've got the guy in front of you that's sitting there picking his nose. Like,
Yeah.
how do you start to apply the Reiki precepts to a situation like that? Right? Well, I can't worry because I'm only going as fast as I can go. So if I'm late, I'm late. I can't control that. I can, however, pick up the phone and call my patients or call wherever I'm going and say, hey, I'm going to be a few minutes late, even though I allowed enough time. 290s being 290, it's out of my control. Most people understand that. You could get angry, right? And,
oh God. Yeah.
and then what would that look like? So now you're showing up to your presentation, to your next client, to whatever. And now the energy that you're bringing with you is anger.
Yeah.
All these emotions are contagious, right? You sit down. I would think about this. I lived in the city for well over a decade, and I would take the L train, and how many times I would get on the L and sit down, and the person 2 rows from me is just pissed off and grinding their teeth and all kinds of angry, and I get off the train and I'm feeling pissed off. That's a perfect example of it doesn't even belong to you, but energy is contagious. What you put out there is a ripple effect, and other people take that on and bring it with them through the rest of the day. The awareness is when somebody recognizes that it doesn't belong to them, and they release they acknowledge the choice that's there to not take that on.
Well, isn't there too, like, being in a negative surrounding, like being around negative people? That's the same thing. If you're around negative people, negativity kind of generally exudes out of you. It just kind of comes out of you. If you're around people who are so positive and energetic and moving forward, generally you pick up on that and you can feel. I mean, when I gave that talk over at Coffee and Contacts on being an introvert with an extrovert job, that was my thing. Going to an SBA Coffee and Contacts event was something that was a positive thing for me, because when I went there, you were able to network with like-minded people, pick up a couple of things from them, and then also sit and listen to a speaker talk about something that you can take away with you, possibly in some way, shape, or form in your business. Exactly. So to me, that was a positive thing. So, and then this is, like you're saying, you're among like-minded people, then you take away positivity. If you're around negative people, you're going to take that negativity with you, like you said, being in a spot on that L, and this man is grinding his teeth. Pretty much, you bring that to your work. Your patients are probably like, "What the hell is going on with her, man?"
Exactly.
So yeah, I totally can relate and understand what you're saying. I have a couple. I want to kind of include some of our people, our guests, in our conversation. So Chris Black says this thought process brings about clarity. I mentioned that. I think I said that one. And then I've got Kathy. Kathy Facenda says, Teri, do you offer group Reiki information sessions?
So I do have Reiki classes. There's a couple of things that we offer. So Reiki level 1 is offered once a year. So each level, there's 3 levels of Reiki, and each one is offered once a year. Usually Reiki level 1 is around May or April. It hasn't been set yet for next year. The other thing that we do, which a lot of people really enjoy, and you don't have to be Reiki certified, you can be any Joe Schmo off the street that is interested in these kinds of things, is 3 times a year, usually in April, July, and we've got our last one coming up in December, is what we refer to as Reiki Play Day. So that's a by donation event. It's about an hour and change long. And we talk about how can you use the tools within the system of Reiki within everyday life. So each session, each class might be a little bit different based on who's coming in. Like there was one earlier this year that how do you incorporate the system of Reiki into conflict resolution?
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Right? How do you break it down? And it's integrative. It's how do you take these tools and be able to use them in everyday life? And the people that are participating, maybe they have a current situation and we break it down for them and we work through it together. So they are then able to do it again in their private life.
Now, didn't I do? I did a Reiki play date with you. Was that a Reiki
Did you do a play
date?
day or did you do an
Oh, I
acupuncture
remember.
and
Oh, okay, yeah,
You
that's
did do
what.
the
Yes, I did that. I did the seeds in the ear, and I did the acupuncture.
Right. So we have on most months what's referred to as an acupuncture and Reiki stress reduction hour. It's again a by donation event. It's about an hour and a half long, and it's both informational and experiential. So you learn a little bit about what is acupuncture, you learn a little bit about what is Reiki, and then you receive an auricular session, ear stress reduction protocol. And while you're sitting with either the needles or the ear seeds, we review and you can learn the first meditation to Reiki level 1. And you receive a little hands-on sample session of what Reiki feels like. So it's kind of like the last 30 minutes is all about sitting and being in that healing space.
So yeah, oh, Kathy's sitting there. She came back. She said, Kathy Facenda says, yes, I was thinking of your play days. Thank you for clarifying. So awesome. So we're able to answer yes. Thank you. Thank you, Kathy, again for joining this episode. I love the participation.
Yeah.
So I know we've been on for almost an hour. Oh my God. So, but I think everybody can, I hope people listen to this. I hope people can get takeaways from this, but I'm going to ask you to summarize what we've just done with 3 takeaways. So if you could please do that.
So 3 important takeaways from today is basically don't compare yourself to others, especially within the world of business, because everybody's on their own journey. Everybody's progressing the way that they're going to progress. And when you compare yourself to other people, you put yourself into that place of judgment. Well, what happens when you're in that place of judgment? Well, now you're creating worry and fear and everything else that goes along with it. So don't compare yourself. The other thing to kind of take away is how can you show up for yourself? Do you work out every day? Maybe you hit that yoga class and you set that time. Like for me, I set a time aside twice a week in my schedule where I go to yoga. That is my time. That is my priority. And I schedule everything else around that time. That's how I show up for myself. And that might be different for you. Maybe it's time for self-reflection. Maybe it's your morning prayers. Those are all different ways to show up for yourself. And the last one is starting to incorporate the Reiki precepts into everyday life. And remember that these precepts are more than just mantras. These are guideposts to help guide you to deeper levels of understanding about who you are. And when you know who and what you are, you can then start to have awareness of like, hey, I recognize this anger. It might not be the same, but I recognize this anger. And really, I think the best thing for me right now is to not engage with it, because that's only going to cause more conflict. But you would never be able to do that unless you know where your own anger is coming from. What's triggering you? What's coming up for you, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But those are awesome takeaways. I want you to mention, I know we've talked a lot about Reiki and de-stressing ourselves, but you do have other services that you do offer.
Yes.
So if you can maybe, throw out some of the other services that you offer.
Absolutely. So we offer something that's called NAET allergy elimination. And it reboots the body so it no longer views a sensitivity as a sensitivity. It is quantifiable, so blood work taken prior to and after start to show a decrease in the CLIA number. I no longer work with anaphylactic patients. However, there are a large number of other things that come up. If you think of an allergy, if you think of anything can cause anything, this is also a modality that is utilized for autoimmune diseases, for digestive dysfunctions, for hives, and all the other normal allergy type related symptoms. Then we also have NET, which is neuroemotional technique. And that utilizes muscle testing to determine unresolved stress reactions and then works to resolve it. So it's beneficial, like if somebody has a chronic pain in the neck, well, maybe that chronic pain in the neck is literally an emotion and a stressor that's stuck in that area. So when you resolve that, now your acupuncture, your massage, and your chiropractic adjustments might last, instead of just a week, it might start lasting closer to 2 to 3 weeks because you're resolving the blockage in the channel. Then we also obviously offer Reiki, both as classes and as being able to receive it. Reiki can also be incorporated with acupuncture. So that's something that makes the practice unique, is the incorporating and the marrying of different modalities that work synergistically together. So you can actually receive Reiki during your acupuncture session if you choose to. And I also offer something called Access Consciousness bars, which is a series of 32 points that, when lightly pressed, start to release limiting beliefs, regardless of if you have conscious awareness of it or not. And again, that can be done as a standalone session or incorporated with any of the acupuncture NET sessions as well.
Do you still have that biomat?
I do.
Oh,
glorious!
nice.
It's gonna be ramped up and ready to go for fall and winter. It's
wonderful. God, that is wonderful.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, biomats actually emit far infrared, so it penetrates deeper to the body than what a regular heating pad would. And it also emits negative ions, so it's very calming to the nervous system. It's a great way to just unplug at, during
it's so relaxing. I'm going to tell you, I did that. And at the end of it, I was just like, I was like Jello. I was like, whoa, it was it was awesome. So, yeah. So anything else, or is that pretty much everything?
That's everything.
Everything. Oh, that's awesome. So, I don't know. I don't see that there's any other questions out there. So I really want to thank you, Teri, for being on this episode of Meet the Expert on the Block. You've been so informative. I love the breathing exercises. I mean, if you can come back, if you can see this whole show in its entirety, please do, because you will, when you leave, you'll be just relaxed. So definitely, please. I hope you can see it all. But what I would like you to do, Teri, is please again just mention your contact information, please.
Sure. So the best way to get a hold of us is via email at our admin@calandraacupuncture.com account. You can reach us via phone at 312-796-3965, or even better, you can go to our website. There is a complimentary 15-minute phone consultation that's available to you, and you can also reach us through the website in that way.
Awesome. Well, couple more comments. Kathy says, great topic. Teri is a great expert, and you definitely are. So I can't say enough. And Chris says, thank you. Great show. Lots of good takeaways. So and I think, yes. And I just want to say again, thank you so much for being on this episode of Meet the Expert on the Block. I hope it was informative for everybody. I'm sure if you go back to replay, you're going to get some great takeaways. My next show, I'm just going to make a note of it. I am September 24th. I will be going live at 5. We're going to have the CEO and the founder of Cure Pogs. Swapna is going to come on my show, and she's going to talk about POGS, what it is, and tell us a little bit about her foundation and just some great information. She is a nonprofit that's going to discuss her goal and discuss more about Cure POGS. So that's going to be on September 24th. And again, we always go live at 5. So I hope you mark that down in your calendar. And I will probably get something out like a week or two before. A week, I tried about 10 days before I try to get something out there. But until next time, it's 6 o'clock, and I think we've been on long enough. I'm going to have to let you guys all go. Make it a great rest of your week. And thank you so much, everybody, for joining us on this show. Again, everybody, take care, and we'll see you the next time around. Bye-bye.